3.
Hi, and welcome back to A Positive Light. I am your host, Joni Lane, and we are here every Monday at 3 o'clock. If we don't do a live show, we do a repeat show, and I think last week we repeated a show because I wasn't here live. But normally I'm here live every Monday at 3. Thank you LCM TV for having us, and wanted to thank Sam Houston. This is the music you were listening to, Sam Houston's Beyond the Crescent Moon CD. I am the owner and operator of a Positive Light Meditation Center in Kelseyville, and we hold classes every Monday night at 7 o'clock for an hour, and it's no cost. Different kinds of meditation, loving kindness meditation, mindfulness meditation, Vipassana meditation. And then every second Tuesday of the month we hold a 12 in Zen, and this month we're on step 5. And that's also at 7 o'clock, and there's no cost for that. We're a non-profit, so donations are appreciated. The 12 in Zen is based on a book by Bill Crumbeen, and it is based on the traditional AA steps, and there are additional steps that have been created, Zen practitioner steps, and 12 steps for the societal normal. And those are paired with a Buddhist koan. And a koan is a story or a parable that helps us to think a little bit deeper and a little bit differently about our steps. It opens up a new way of thinking. And it's an interesting class. Tomorrow night we'll be holding another one for this month on step 5, like I said. And you're welcome to come. Like I said, 7 o'clock, no cost. It's a really fun, interesting class. Also, if you'd like to sponsor the show, we are looking for sponsors. And we would like you to support us by sponsoring us. We'd like to support you by advertising what you have to advertise. And we'll keep a cost down as low as $40 a month. $40 a month for advertisement is a pretty good deal. So please give us a call or email. My contact information will be coming up throughout the show today, so you can contact me by email or by phone. And if you have any questions at all about any of the things I'm talking about today, you can check out our website at apositivelight.com, where I list all the upcoming classes on our calendar, and I also archive these shows. So if there's a show that you've missed or one that you liked, you want to go back and watch, they're all archived there with a date and description, and you're welcome to view them as often as you like. If you'd like to be a guest on the show and have a positive message, or if you know someone who has a positive message they'd like to share, please let me know, because I love having guests on the show. I love sharing different insights and different ways of looking at things, different opinions. Everybody sees things a little bit differently. And I try to present things in a different light every once in a while to see if maybe that'll strike a chord with you. But of course, guests are always wonderful because they have a different outlook on things than I do. So if you or someone you know has a positive message, contact me and let me know. I am also a Reiki master teacher, and I teach Reiki to students. There's level 1, level 2, teacher, and master. I also hold a Reiki healing circle the last Friday of every month, and that is something that fills up quickly, so you need to sign up for that one. And again, you can contact me by phone or email and let me know you're interested. There is a requested $10 donation for that group because there's quite a bit of setup and tear down for that class. It's 2 hours the last Friday of every month from 7 to 9. And again, it's a $10 donation. Please let me know ahead of time if you'd like to come, because I'd love to add you to the class. It fills up quickly. We do have a couple of spots open for this month. And this month will be October 30th at 7 o'clock. Also, Kevin Griffin will be joining us on November 8th for a day-long workshop. Kevin is the author of One Breath at a Time, A Burning Desire, Buddhism and the 12-Step Workbook, and now his newest book, Recovering Joy. And in this day-long retreat, we'll focus on ways to bring a light heart and clear mind to our recovery program. We'll explore ways to cultivate joy using traditional Buddhist mindfulness teachings, 12-step teachings, and contemporary practices for increasing happiness and contentment. And this class is only $50. And Kevin teaches all over the world to thousands of people. And we will have a small group for him, which he loves to teach, but he is keeping the price down for us, and it's only $50 a person. So there are a few spots left for this class. Please contact me and let me know that you're interested. You can also join up by visiting our website at positivelight.com and going to the calendar page, and there's a PayPal button there next to the class description, and you can pay for it that way. It alerts me and lets me know who you are and that you're reserving a spot. I've tried to make it as easy as possible for you to join the classes you want to join. Contact me for questions on any of this. So, like I said, Mark will be putting up my contact information throughout the show today, my email, my phone number, and the website. So please contact me if you have any questions or suggestions, and if you're interested in any of these classes. So today I'm going to talk about something that makes a lot of people really uncomfortable. It makes people turn away because they don't want to look at something that they say they don't have a part in. And maybe they don't. But I'm going to suggest that maybe we do all play a part in cyclical thinking. I'm going to talk specifically about addiction and alcoholism today. And I'm not saying you have a drinking problem, and I'm not judging you, and I'm not going to use any judgment against anyone. I'm going to try to explain why I see that Buddhism has many parallels with the AA 12 steps. Now, the AA 12 steps has thousands of offspring from the original traditional AA 12 steps. There is Narcotics Anonymous, Overeating Anonymous, there's Sex Anonymous, there is so many thousands of 12-step groups now based on the AA traditional steps because they're so helpful. That's saying a lot. When people take traditional steps and say, wow, that works for me and my problem with a slight twist, and it does. But if you listen, you may see that although you don't suffer from, you may not suffer from any addictions to substances, you may be suffering from addiction to cyclical thinking. And we've talked about Shenpa on this show before, and we have an archive show on the website regarding Shenpa. Shenpa is getting caught up in our thinking, the cyclical thinking that causes us suffering. And I think we all do it. I'm going to present another version along the same line of thought, and perhaps it will help you or someone you know to identify a problem that you're having, something that you can't get past, something you wonder, how come I always act this way and I don't know how to act differently? I think we all do that. The reason I wanted to do this show today is because yesterday I celebrated 26 years of being clean and sober. On October 11th, 1989, I reluctantly went into rehab. And I say reluctantly because it's not easy to give up something that you have become dependent on. It seemed that no matter what happened in my life, alcohol was always there for me. And I've done my fair share of drugs and other self-damaging things over the years, but booze is the one thing that I could always count on. It's always available, it's legal over the age of 21 in this state, and society accepts it to a certain degree. Alcohol there's nothing wrong with alcohol, and I'm not going to ever say there is. There is something wrong with anything that becomes too much. Too much of anything isn't good for you. And when it becomes damaging and gets in the way of your life, it becomes a big problem. Sometimes the way we think is damaging and gets in the way of our happiness, and that becomes a big problem. That's another form of addiction. And when you look at the word addiction, it simply means cyclical thinking or cyclical behavior, something that's unhealthy that we continue to repeat over and over again. And if we keep banging into the wall, sometimes we think if we bang into the wall harder, we'll get through it. But that's not true. We still bang into the wall. So Mark's making an adjustment on the camera now. So I'll just smile at him as he does. Like everyone in the world, I had some pretty lousy things happen to me, and some pretty lousy things I put myself through. And I won't go into detail. At meetings and with my sponsees I do, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how I got there. What matters is today and what I've learned from it, and that I can now today use my life and the experiences in it to make a better one day by day, one day at a time, in order to help other people become happier people. There were those who encouraged me and gave me support during my recovery process, and there were plenty of those who judged me, a horrible person, put me down, called me names, and tried to shame me. I can tell you that encouragement works a lot better than shame. At least it did for me. And I think encouragement is a healthier way to deal with challenges. Shame is a very negative way to encourage people to do something. It leaves a very distasteful film. Whereas encouragement and positive help is healthy. You come through something in a healthier mindset. From my recovery in the years, I'd say every year I've gotten a little bit more knowledge, a little bit better understanding of who I am, where I come from, why I do the things I do. And I think because I keep looking at that stuff and because I keep wanting to be a better person, I continue to work my steps. Part of this is where I've learned I can grow from. I can become a better person. I could change my behaviors that aren't healthy, that aren't getting me anywhere. I can look at something objectively without putting myself down and just see where it comes from, see what changes I can make. 26 years of doing meditation and learning about myself has really helped me grow. And I'm not done. I've got a long ways to go. But because of the growth and the direction that I've decided to go, I've acquired quite a few friends that I have a lot in common with in this field. And two of those friends are authors who've written books on the 12 steps in relation to the Buddhist principles. And one of those is Bill Crumbeen, who wrote 12 and Zen, which I promote every second Tuesday at the center. And we still correspond, and he gives me ideas and encouragement, and I give him feedback. And it's a great book. I encourage you to look into getting it. It's at Amazon. You can get an ebook or you can get a paperback. There's a lot of things in there that don't have anything to do with recovery from addictions. The 12 steps in Buddhism is a tool for anyone who wants to grow, who wants to look at their behavior objectively and in a healthy way and decide what things they may want to change. I think everyone who wants to be a better person and to be more mature could use these things. It's a very simple tool, but it's a very powerful tool. And I really enjoy sharing it with people because it saved my life and it changed my life. And it allows me to help other people, which is what I truly enjoy doing. Now, Bill continues to share his knowledge, and he still holds his 12 and Zen classes. He's currently working on a new book regarding the commonality between the AA principles and the principles of Zen Buddhism. So I look forward to that book coming out, and I'm giving him some feedback on that, which he may include in his book too. The other friend I've developed a friendship with, let's put it that way, is Kevin Griffin, who is the person that's coming on November 8th. And he's written the books One Breath at a Time, Burning Desire, and now Recovering Joy. Kevin's been doing meditation for at least 30 years that I know of, and he's written these books based on the fact that he's gone through his own recovery process. He's been working his 12 steps, and he sees that the Buddhist principles really support the 12-step work that he's done. And he likes to share that with others that want to learn meditation. The 11th step in the 12 steps is sought through prayer and meditation, a deeper understanding of the steps. When you learn that you cannot drink any longer, or you can't take drugs or any mind-altering substances because it's getting in your way, it's really hard to relax. It's really hard to know where to go to let go of stress and to deal with daily life pressures. And meditation is something that's really healthy and really helps you realize you don't need to use mind-altering drugs. You can actually deal with life on life's terms by settling yourself, getting back in touch with who your true self is, and starting every day fresh from there. The one thing I found in the last 26 years is that my ego has a great deal to do with whether I'm happy or not. And there's two schools of Buddhism, the Hinayana school and the Mahayana school, deal directly with personal growth and how the ego plays heavily on our ability to learn by letting go of our ego and our control or lack of control over people, places, and things, which is what the AA principles are based on. And the Hinayana seeks the awakening of the individual, whereas the Mahayana seeks to attain enlightenment for the sake of welfare of all beings, the Bodhisattva vows. The 12th step in the AA Big Book is about sharing what we learn from the 12 steps in staying sober and living life on life's terms with other alcoholics in order to help them learn to live on life's terms. So you can see how Buddhism and the 12 steps really support each other. They work well together. And the longer I do this, the more I realize that they kind of go hand in hand for me, that meditation and the Buddhist principles really help me see my steps in a deeper way. I have a better relationship with them. I have a deeper relationship with them. I have a better understanding of what those steps mean and how I can apply them to my life in a healthy way. But just because I'm a recovering person doesn't mean that this can't help you if you're not an addict. I say this because it's really important that you understand that as much as the 12 steps were originally developed for alcoholics, they have become something much, much more. And mindfulness meditation has become something much, much more. In the United States, mindfulness meditation is basically a huge movement that's just kind of taken over, where people are really wanting to know what all this magic is with the mindfulness movement. And when you start to understand what mindfulness meditation is about, and looking at yourself and learning about yourself and letting go of what doesn't serve you any longer, you start realizing when you learn the steps that it's very, very similar. In some cases, identical. So My friend Bill reminded me the other day when I was sending emails back and forth of something that Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh says. And the statement, and I'm going to read it word for word because I want to get it correctly. Thich Nhat Hanh is a Zen master from Vietnam who says, when we practice not drinking alcohol, we protect ourselves. And we're also protecting our family and society. The more we consume, the more we suffer. And the more we make our society suffer. Buddhism teaches not to ingest intoxicants. By looking at things as they truly are without running away, by using mind-altering substances, and in accepting the truth, we learn to let go of how we want things to be, and we learn to accept life on life's terms, just like in AA. I'm not saying that I'm going to judge you about what you consume. And I don't want you to think that I am, and I'm not going to tell you not to drink. I'm going to suggest and ask you to look at the things that you might be doing in your life that are causing you unhappiness. What kind of behaviors are you using on a regular basis that could be causing you suffering? What kind of cyclical thinking are you getting caught up in? If something happens to you in the day that upsets you, are you still thinking about it hours later? Because if you are, that's a sign that you're caught up in that shenpa, that cyclical thinking. Then you're not solving the problem. And the 12 steps really helps clear that up. When we do our 12 in Zen with the societal normal, it's all about people who don't have addictive problems with chemicals or substances. It's about people who have problems in daily life. And we pair that with a Buddhist koan because Buddhism is so much like the philosophy of AA. Now, I'm not a Buddhist, and I don't even think I know what a real Buddhist is. It's not a religion. It's maybe the following of the Buddhist teachings and principles. But I would say I'm a realist who tries to accept the truth as it presents itself to me during the unfolding of my life. So as life happens, and I look at it, and I experience it, I try to look at what's real, not my projections, not how I want things to be, but what's real. And sometimes it's stuff I really don't like, and I'm not happy with it. But it's what's real. We can complain about things all day long. If there's no solution, then we need to just accept it and either deal with it or not, let it go. I look at, it's really easy to say that. It's really difficult to do. Practicing doing something different and not getting caught up in our storyline that we're creating in our head is really difficult. But when I look, for example, at the fires that we just had here in Lake County, where people were forced out of their home within minutes, there was no time to think. There was no time for them to say, I don't like this. They were forced with what's really happening. It was true, it was the truth, it was happening. They grabbed what they could, they got out of the way of the fire, and they left. They didn't sit and stew in it and wish it was different. Maybe afterwards they did because they regretted the things they lost. But even then, it's a done deal. You know, it's done. And yes, we go through our mourning process and we go through grieving, and that's healthy. And we should do that. It's part of letting go. But when you sit and fight it and fight it and fight it and wish it was different, you're not going to get your wish. You're just beating your head against that wall, and you're not getting anywhere. Plus, you're probably making yourself pretty miserable, and probably making the people around you pretty miserable. And I don't think that's your goal. So, I've taken my Bodhisattva vows and pledged to do the work of the 12 steps that I in my recovery program. And the 12th step says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And the Bodhisattva vows, we say very similar vows that we will try to bring happiness and cease the suffering of other people. We will try to take what we've learned and bring it to others to make them happy, to ease the suffering in their life. Very similar. We found something good and we want to share it with others. Pretty much what it comes down to. So, I had a lot of things that I went through, and a lot of it wasn't very good. Most of it I caused myself. But I can see that now, and I can separate myself from it. And I don't regret any of my life choices in the past. I did the best I could with the tools that I had or didn't have. And I learned a lot from them. And because of the experiences I had, whether they were happy or unhappy experiences, I did learn from them. And now from that, I could take this knowledge and I could learn how to use it to help other people get through the same or similar circumstances. And I've been through some pretty good major stuff. I won't go into detail, but I can tell you it's pretty major, and because of it, I've been able to help people get through those things. I've saved people's lives in telling them that. I won't take credit for saving the life. I will give credit to the things I've learned through Buddhism and the 12 steps. And I really want to share that with you. I really want you to see that you could be so much happier and lighter and freer if you learn how to free yourself from your ego, from the way you want things to be, and learn how to accept life on life's terms. So my goal here is to help you see that and hopefully help you. Really, that's all I want to do. I did earn this wonderful coin that I carry with me everywhere I go that says, "To thine own self be true." And I think it's really important to know that it's just a coin, but it represents 26 years of recovery, and being true to myself is where that began. And because I took that step, and because I was brave enough to go through it and learn from it and drop my storylines and become very vulnerable, I learned that I could help other people be happier. So I'm going to leave you with that for a few minutes. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes, and we'll talk a little bit more. Thank you.
You're invited to participate in a true multimedia experience coming to a home near you. LCM TV is bringing Lake County into the new millennium with news, live broadcast, information, music, talk shows, and local programming, all streaming in high definition online and soon to be on your Roku box. Join us at lcm-tv.com or be a part of our studio audience. You can also watch the shows at lakecomagazine.com as we provide programming to inform, enlighten, and maybe even enrage you. On Lake County Magazine Talk Show with Terry and Pete the Tax Guy, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Joni Lane brings a positive light to you every Monday at 3 p.m. Pasha Space brings an international flair as they discuss ecological, health, and social issues in Haiti with people around the world. End up your week with positive, conscious sounds on Saturday at 9 a.m. with Sister T on the Bridge. This show is also simulcast on KMEC 105.1 FM in Ukiah. Our latest show, LCM TV News, is brought to you live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, featuring national, regional, and local news, weather, and sports. We have it all here for you on your local TV station, LCM TV. Join us online and soon on Roku, giving you access to all the best Lake County has to offer. We are LCMTV.com, your multimedia connection. Tune in for the fun. It's live TV at its best.
Hi, and welcome back to Positive Light. I'm your host, Joni Lane. In the first half of the show, we were talking about the parallels between the Buddhist teachings and steps of AA. I want to remind anyone who's watching this that everyone who's watching this that the 12 steps that I'm talking about are not strictly AA. AA is a wonderful organization, and they've saved thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives, and really helped people out a lot. But using those steps in any other form and applying them to our life can be a really important, very strong tool. And the parallels between that and the Buddhist teachings are so many that it's easy to follow the Buddhist principles and practice the 12 steps. So one of the quotes from Jack Kornfield is, "Life is a teacher if you allow yourself to learn from it." Jack is a teacher at Spirit Rock in Marin County in California, and he has, I don't know how many books, a lot of books out. He's been my teacher for a long time. I've taken many, many courses from him, as well as several other meditation teachers, monks. I could go on. Rinpoches, all kinds of people. But I like reading from Jack's books, and I enjoy listening to his talks because he's very human. He talks on a level of understanding that I think we can all relate to. He's got a great sense of humor. And one of the things that he writes about is this, and I'm going to give you a reading from one of his books, "Seeing All Beings as Your Teachers." Picture or imagine that this earth is filled with millions of teachers, Buddhas, wise beings. Imagine that every single being you encounter is enlightened, except for one, you. Imagine that they're all here to teach you. Whoever you encounter is acting as they do for your benefit, to provide just the teachings and difficulties you need in order to awaken perfect patience, equanimity, courage, compassion, and love. See what lessons they each offer you. You have a lot to learn about love and presence, tolerance, courage, and from each encounter with them. Honor each as a teacher and inwardly thank them for this. Take a day or week to notice the enlightened teachers all around you, and notice how it changes your whole perspective on life. So, the difficult person that you run into at work, the person on the freeway who cuts you off in traffic, these are great teachers. Because rather than react to them, if you can, catch yourself and stop and breathe and remind yourself, this person is teaching me patience or compassion. Perhaps the person who cut you off in traffic is in a rush because they just got a call from the hospital saying their daughter's been brought into emergency, and they're not thinking. You know, if you knew that was true, I'm pretty sure you'd be compassionate enough to let them go by. If you were in that situation, would you care that you were cutting other people off in traffic? You know, so there's always these things that we don't give people the benefit of the doubt in. Maybe they're just an inconsiderate jerk. That could be too. There's a lot of those in the world, but they are good teachers because they are teaching us tolerance and patience and allowing people to be human and make mistakes. It's not our job to correct their mistakes because they wouldn't listen anyway. But it is our job as good people to learn to not react in a negative way. It's really difficult to do sometimes. But if you have a difficult coworker, maybe you could look at them as a teacher of patience. Maybe they really need attention and you could just ask them if they need help with anything. And sometimes that will change their demeanor. Are you having a really hard day? Can I help you with something? It's amazing how quickly people will change their attitudes when you say something like that. It disarms them, it just diffuses the situation. And it's practicing loving kindness when we really don't feel like being very loving. And it takes work. But if you're really present in the moment and you give the person some love instead of acting in anger and fear, you will really begin to see your own behavior in a better light. You'll see how you can improve the things you do and your reactions. And being present lets us experience each moment in our lives in a way that cannot fully be lived through memory or fantasy, which is another quote from Jack. It can be easy for us to walk through the world and our lives without really being present. While dwelling on the past and living for the future are common pastimes, it's physically impossible to live anywhere but the present moment. We cannot step out our front door and take a left turn to May of last year, any more than we can take a right turn in December of 2010. Nevertheless, we can easily miss the future we are waiting for as it becomes the now we are too busy to pay attention to. We then spend the rest of our time playing catch-up to the moments that we let pass by. And during the moments like these, it's important to remember that there is only now. I think a good example of that paragraph is many people will look back on their lives. The older you get, the faster time goes by, and you start realizing, wow, where did that last 10 years go? And I think when you're caught up with raising children and working and, you know, all the other things that life may busy you with, it's really easy to think about, oh, if only I'd done this differently, I could have this now. Or wouldn't it be nice if in the future I lived in this house with these things, with these people? And we start fantasizing about what we think we want, or thinking in the past about how things should have been different. When you catch yourself doing those things, which we all do, remind yourself that you're missing the moments right now, right this minute. I have a couple of friends that are sight impaired. One of them is totally blind and can't see anything. And I look at the world and see what this person is missing. Of course, they're not missing it because they don't know what I'm seeing. But I think to myself, if I had lost my eyesight last year, I'd be missing these things. I'm going to look around and really take this in. The world is a beautiful place. Birds are flying in the air. Trees are beautiful. You can look at the bad things in life if you want to, but you can also look at the beautiful things in life. If you want to see a miracle, babies are born every day. That's a miracle. The fact that we walk on this planet in these bodies is a miracle. When you think about it, it's a miracle. Every moment that we are here is a precious moment, because who knows when there are not going to be any more moments. I can tell you that if you spend a day, just regular day, not thinking about being in the moment, and then a truck hit you and you went off into another world and you think, and you're still thinking, wow, if only I'd known that truck was going to hit me. I would have paid more attention to the things around me, the people I love. I would have appreciated things more. Now I'm not going to get a chance to do that. I think the other example of that is people on their deathbed who say, the only regrets I have is I didn't spend enough time with the people I loved. I didn't treat people as well as I should have. You know, really, during a thoughtful meditation, you might really want to think about those things, because I think it helps us stay in the moments that we need to be present while we're walking around in this life, in these bodies, being present in those moments. What I just said, I realize, is a little confusing, because on the one hand, I suggested meditation on the thought process, but if you're in the moment of those thoughts, you're really looking at them. You're not fantasizing on things that could be or should be. You're looking at the reality of what is and your relationship with those moments and how you treat each moment. And I think the steps help us see the things that are important. It helps us to rid ourselves of the things that don't suit us and aren't making us happy. The steps can identify our behavior that causes us suffering and other people suffering. And Buddhism does the same thing. Buddha really kept it pretty simple, saying if you walk on this planet and enjoy every moment and treat each other with love and yourself with love, it will be a happy life. And that's very simple and simplified, but it's also very true. I think we complicate our lives and create drama and chaos where we don't need to. So if you can begin to corral your attention to the present moment, you can really enjoy each moment fully, and your life won't go zipping by. You'll be able to actually enjoy it fully. One of the things I was talking about last night was fingerprints and how individual they are. And one of the books that I've read recently was talking about fingerprints, and the author said something that I've thought about before in my own head, that we each have a fingerprint. You know, out of the 10 fingers we have, let's just pick this one finger, our left index finger. This fingerprint is like nobody's fingerprint, not only in this world right now, but ever in the history of time. Nobody's ever had these exact little swirls on their fingertips, ever. That's how individual that particular finger is. And each finger on all of us, ever. That's really a unique thing, totally unique. That is what the word means, unique, one of a kind. And I think that's an example of who we are. When we're born, we are like no one else. We have similarities to someone else maybe, but we are unique. There is no one like us. Each baby is born perfect, just as they are, a unique individual that nobody in the history of time has ever been like. And we are given gifts, and we can develop these gifts, or life can layer us with junk, and that gift or those gifts can get hidden. And I think that if we just allow that to happen and we don't become aware of it happening, we don't really get to experience our true self. We don't get to experience our uniqueness and the unique gifts that we have that we could give to the world. A guru said, "My dear sir, you are quite mistaken about yourself. You're not the person you take yourself to be." And I really like that quote, because we think we're somebody in particular. We think that we are an individual who thinks and acts and walks a certain way. But really, when you start peeling off the layers, are you? Are you really being you? Are you being what society has told you to be? Are you walking around thinking that having a particular iPhone or a particular jacket is your identity? Are you thinking that your job is your identity? When people ask you who you are they asking you who you are, or are they asking you what you do? if you're going to tell them what you do for a living is who you are, then you're not looking at who you are. The world has layered over it for you, and you're missing it, and I don't want you to miss it. I want you to see inside, underneath all those layers. I want you to see who you are as a unique individual. I want you to look at it. I want you to see your behavior. I want you to see what you do or don't do that causes you suffering. I want you to take off all the layers that society has placed on you and find out who you are and your special gifts and your uniqueness, and just revel in it. I want you to just be you. I think Jesus was trying to tell us that. I think Buddha was trying to tell us that. I think many of the prophets were trying to tell us if we could just be the loving person that we were born as and share our gifts with others, that we could make the world a better place and we could be happy. We all bring something different to life. Some people are leaders, some people are followers, some people are artists, some people are loud and artistic, some people are quiet and studious, some people are introspective, and some people are very, very loud about wanting to help people. And everybody has their own way, and there's no right or wrong. If you're being your true self and you are bringing your gifts to the world in a positive way and making the world a better place, if we all did that, just think what a great world we'd have. We'd have a wonderful world. The problem is that we get caught up in our stories, and we get caught up in life. And life kind of gets to us sometimes, and we react to it. It's part of being human. It's part of having emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with any of it. But I think it makes us happier when we learn who we are and how we could share that with others. That's what the 12-step is all about, and that's what Buddhism is all about. There's many other religions that teach the same things. If you want to look at religions, some people do. I don't particularly follow religions. I follow teachings. But if you feel you need to be in a religion because you want to be in a group, you're that type of person, that's who you are, that's fine. I can't say there's a right or wrong to that. Some people need that. But when you look in your heart and you know the truth of what something really is, not what you want it to be, but what it really is, and you learn to accept it and move on and let go of the rest, you will learn that you are letting go of a lot of baggage and that you are opening up to a lot of happiness. So what is yourself? A lot of people say, I don't know who I am then, because I've always been told I'm what I do. So what does that mean? I don't know who I am. Who's myself? And that's a really good question. I'm going to read this from Rinpoche to you that says, and it's translated, if I'm not the thoughts and feelings that occur to me, if I'm not this body, this mind, if I'm not these opinions I have, the history that describes me, my race, my gender, my sexuality, my family, my social group, if, as all the great teachers tell me, I am none of these things, but rather the self, then what am I? It's a really good question. Well, I can only tell you about me. That may be boring to some of you, but it's something I know. I was a baby. I was a toddler. I remember being about 2 years old. I remember being a child and living in a child's body and discovering things the way children do. I remember thinking like a child and being very open and curious and basically very happy. I remember growing and then experiencing some of the world things that I didn't like, maybe some of my family members, maybe some of my friends, people at school, started to put layers of different feelings on me. And then I turned into a teenager, and I remember the drama of being a teenager. I remember that heaviness that I felt I carried. I remember the life experiences I really didn't want to look at, really didn't know how to deal with. I remember being very angry for many reasons and using those reasons as an excuse to continue to be angry and getting caught up in the anger cycle. And by the time I was in my 20s, I was really living anger every day, every minute of every day. So then I took up the course that not everyone takes. I took the bumpy road, and I stayed on the bumpy road. See, some people take the bumpy road and they go, oh, this is really bumpy. I think I'll move over here where it's smoother. Those are people who figure out life a little quicker than me. I took the bumpy road and I just stayed on it thinking, well, I can handle this. I'm tough. I can handle this bumpy road. And I just stayed on it because I'm very stubborn. But that's when I started doing all this self-abuse and getting caught up in the alcohol and the drugs and then the self-sabotaging that I did. And it became my way of life. It became an everyday, every minute occurrence. And it's all I knew. It's all I knew, and it's all I thought I needed. And I was miserable, but I wanted to stay there. I wanted to stay in that misery. You think about that, that's kind of sad, but a lot of people do that. I went through several recovery programs before I decided that my way wasn't working, and I couldn't see that I was going anywhere except in the same brick wall over and over again, and I was really unhappy. And somebody told me to at least give these steps a try. I mean, what did you have to lose at that point? Your life's already pretty miserable. So I decided, okay, I'll try it. I will have faith. I will blindly do what they tell me to do because my way isn't working. And I understood I would never, ever, ever be happy. I would never be happy if I continued the same route that was making me miserable. As smart as I am, it took me a while to get there. When you realize hitting your head against the wall is actually what's causing your head pain, it takes you that long to figure it out. You got to question your sanity a little bit. But when I finally began to see the light, and I started to see that the steps were releasing a lot of the anger, and they were bringing insights to me that maybe I didn't want to look at, but I realized were the truth. And I started accepting the truth. I started accepting my part in things. I started accepting my sabotage in my own life. And when I started to look at that, I thought, well, what are my alternatives? Because I really don't know anything else. And that's when the steps started taking me in a direction of, oh, okay, well, here's some suggestions. Try these things, maybe they'll make you happy. Things like letting go of your ego, not always having to be right, letting go and identifying things that were making me unhappy and letting them go. Identifying behavior that was no longer serving me in a positive way and letting it go. Identifying behavior that was causing other people pain and causing me guilt and letting that go. After a while, I started to really come out of that dark hole I was in and seeing light and feeling light and being happy. I caught myself laughing and smiling, which was something I hadn't done in a long, long time. And I just thought, you know what? This stuff is working. And as much as I didn't want to admit it because I had ego issues, I had to admit that I was beginning to be happy. And so 26 years later, after continuing to following that line and learning meditations and going to teachers, admitting I don't know everything, in fact I knew very little, And I wanted to be an open book and learn and absorb. And the more I absorbed and the more open I was, the happier I became. And the happier I became, the more I wanted that. I got really greedy with that happiness thing. And I didn't feel guilty about being greedy with the happiness thing because I was learning to help other people too. And in doing that, I was seeing people change their life. I was seeing them become happy and go through the process I went through. And it was really satisfying to know I could make a change in someone's life. But it wasn't just me. It's the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that work the steps every day, and the thousands and thousands of people that follow the Buddhist teachings. And because they're so similar, to me they go hand in hand. It's really easy to hold the 12 and Zen classes because they complement each other so well. I have people in there that are recovering addicts. I have people that come that have no addiction problems at all. They just want to be better people. I have other people that really want to look at their lives. They feel unhappy. They're not quite sure why, but they try coming in to the class the second Tuesday of every month. And they leave smiling with this new understanding of something. And it's just one thing, but it's such a revelation when they walk out. We learn so much from each other. And so I really want to encourage everybody that if you can't come to the Tuesday night class every second Tuesday of the month, go online and look at the book and practice it. 12 and Zen by Bill Krumbein. Practice the things he suggests in there. You may be amazed at the things that come to light. You may be amazed at the things that you didn't realize. And I also want to encourage you to come to the November 8th class of Kevin Griffin because he's an amazing person with amazing insights. He's had his own addiction problems, who writes freely about them in his books. Wonderful books I encourage you to read. One Breath at a Time, A Burning Desire, Recovering Joy. But do come to the class if you can, because he has insights that I can't share with you because I don't think the way he does. He's a really unique person. He's found his uniqueness and he wants to share it with others. He found his gift and he shares it with people freely. So much knowledge. So I hoped that some of what I told you today helped. I hope that you will open up your mind a little to looking at some of the 12 steps programs in a different way. It's not just for people who are recovering from alcohol or drug addiction. It's for people who want to be better people. It's for people who want to uncover the junk off their life and see who they truly are, see their uniqueness, share their gifts with others. Join life completely by living every moment completely and fully. It's an amazing thing to experience, and my wish is to have everybody experience it, because I think if we all did, we'd all be really happy people. And what a great place it'd be. I'm not saying we're not going to have emotions, because we're human, we're going to have emotions. But when you learn how to deal with the anger that does come up, or the sadness, or the frustration, and you learn how to experience happiness completely and share joy with other people, it's something that's really unique in itself, and I can't even find words to describe it. But the lightness and the lack of stress and the feeling of joy is just indescribable. So try to open your mind up to that and give yourself that gift. And in the meantime, till next week, be good to yourself. If you have any questions, give me a call, give me an email. Check out the website if you have any questions on the classes, the calendar page at www.apositivelight.com. And the archives for these shows are all on there too. There's a tab that says TV Archive Shows. So thank you again for joining me today. Thank you LCM TV for having us. and be good to yourself. And next week we'll be back at 3 o'clock on Monday. Thanks.